After generating over $50 million in client revenue, and after taking thousands of sales calls, after running advertising campaigns across multiple platforms and spending millions of dollars on these platforms, I'm going to break down how exactly we do it, and I'm going to break down the one key variable that makes and has made all of this possible. And I'm not going to be talking about just simple things like the way you structure your ad copy or the type of sales rep that you bring on. And it's not even necessarily sales and marketing related. It's deeper than that. It's based upon the actual type of offer that you're running, and it's the perceived value of the offer that really makes the big difference. That is the key. And I'm going to be showing you what I look at before I take on a client. And when I do take on a client, I'm going to be showing you what we actually look to elevate when it comes to the offer, and the things we like to decrease with the offer to make it more appealing to the market. I've literally been able to take offers from $0 to $2 million per month with this process, with this framework. So watch this video all the way through, ingrain this in your brain, and without any further ado, let's jump straight into the video. So what we're looking at is the perceived value equation that's been responsible for helping me generate tens of millions of dollars for our clients, right? And the way it works, we have reward, we have cost, and then we have perceived value. Your goal is to boost and bolster the perceived value of your product and service in your prospect's mind as much as humanly possible. And the way in which you do that is by bolstering, by increasing the reward side of this equation to as high as it can possibly go, and then decreasing the cost side of this equation to as low as it can possibly go. And if you get this right, you'll be able to print tens of millions of dollars with your product if you can get this right. And it already pretty much starts here. When I take on any client, the first thing I do, I look at this equation and I look at what it currently is to decide if I want to actually take them on. And then the second thing I do is make sure to boost these elements and decrease these elements as much as possible before we go to the market. And I've been able to scale offers from $0 to $2 million per month by following this framework. It all starts here. And if you get this right, you don't have to be super persuasive when it comes to your sales team. You don't have to have the perfect ad copy for your offer to actually do a 1x, a 2x ROAS. You're able to do exceptional numbers. You're able to hit 5x, 7x, 10x ROAS numbers if you get this right. It all starts here. So watch this video all the way through. Right, so again, the goal is to boost perceived value, and we do that by increasing the left and decreasing the right. And let's start with transformation, the first thing in our equation here. So transformation is the dream outcome, right? That's the dream outcome, what people actually purchasing if they join your program, right? And your goal is to be able to make that as potent as possible, right? So if you're able to take someone from $0 to $5,000 per month, that is awesome. That is great. If you're able to take someone, however, from $5,000 a month to $50,000 a month, that is a greater transformation, right? So the greater the transformation, the greater the actual reward. And it's also very important that you're actually helping people make the transformation they truly want to make by talking to your market and making sure that your product, your solution fully aligns with what people are talking about they want, right? So you have to make sure that the want is there and you're meeting that need. The second thing is identity. So when it comes to identity, people are buying transformation, not just financial, not just health, but people want to transform into different identities. Is purchasing your product, your service, going to turn them into a different person on an identity level? I'll give you a perfect example, right? There's an entrepreneur called Sam Ovens. He's the founder of School. But before School, he was in the actual info space, and he had this mastermind called the Quantum Mastermind, right? And it was like $30,000 to $50,000 per year. And something really interesting happened. A lot of entrepreneurs who I knew joined that mastermind. But then they didn't just join the mastermind because of the transformation. Yes, he helped them make more money. He was good at what he did. He had a good product, right? Which was great. But they also purchased for the identity of being a Sam Ovens client in his highest level program. After people purchased his mastermind, they used to make YouTube videos bragging about paying him $30,000 to $50,000 per year. They used to make videos bragging about this stuff, right? They used to tell the whole world, right? And they want everyone to know that they actually spent that much money and are spending that much money with him. That's because by joining his program, it gave them a different identity, right? People wasn't just paying for the transformation, they were paying to be closer to Sam Ovens and to have an identity as being a student in his highest level program, right? So you have to ask yourself, if people buy my program, they buy my product, what does that do for their identity? Does that take them closer to their dream identity, or does it regress away into an identity that they don't want to associate with? So identity is very important, right? And making sure your offer can facilitate that growth from the internal sense makes a very, very big shift, right? And then we have certainty. And certainty, that's essentially, if transformation is the dream, certainty is the bridge to that dream. It's the bridge. And if you have an extremely solid bridge, it's sturdy, it's strong, I'm very certain that after walking over this bridge, I'm going to get over there completely safe, then that is awesome. That is a great side to have. And that's like a really big mover in whether people will purchase your product or not. But if the bridge is flimsy, if there's holes and gaps in the bridge, that is going to decrease the reward side of this equation, right? But if we can get this up and we can make it very certain, then things are going to go really well for you. And the way in which we can actually boost certainty is through social proof, right? And I'll give you an example as well. On an offer that we were running before, when we first started this offer, I remember we did $3,000 in our first month. It was very difficult. It was tough. And just so you know, we scaled the offer to $1.4 million, right? So it was very difficult, very tough in the first month. Only $3,000. Right? And we scaled from $3,000 to 1.4 mil. And how we did that, well, the issue to begin with, but let's start with that, was the fact that we only had reviews on like Trustpilot and Google reviews. We had social proof, but we never had the optimal form of social proof. When you actually go about getting social proof, you want to get in different formats. You want to get the written reviews. You want to get the video testimonials. You also want to get interview style testimonials. You want to get social proof in so many different formats, and you don't want to just have it in the written. We find the interview style testimonials to be some of the best. Like, we're living in the world where we're currently in a trust recession. People don't really believe the written reviews. They think that could be faked, it could be phony. But when you as a founder or the founder of the organization actually hops onto a Zoom call with the prospect, and then you talk back and forth, you ask them questions, and people can see when the the client who had the transformation, when they can see the client's transformation, when they can see the client has actually had that transformation by the pupils dilating when they say certain words, right? The smiling when they speak about how much money they made, right? When they talk about the pains they went to actually achieve that transformation, and you can see they kind of look down a little bit, they lose a bit of their confidence because they are thinking back at their past self. Like, human beings are amazing BS detectors. And when you can do interview style videos like that, where people can see the client's facial expression and they can really feel that person made that transformation and it's legit, that makes all the difference. And that offer that we only did $3,000 in the first month, after we started stacking more and more social proof, we managed to scale the offer to 1.4 mil in like 7 months. Because we had so much social proof, it became a no-brainer to move forward with it because the certainty was so high. The bridge between where they were and where they wanted to go was solid. It was solid, it was undoubtable. So you want to be very aggressive when it comes to getting social proof for your client. It adds a lot of certainty to your offer, right? And then the other side of the equation is cost, right? So the money side of things, like, okay, you wanna help them make a transformation, but what's the delta between the transformation and then the cost of actually having that transformation, right? So if they have to spend a ton of money and then the transformation is only going to be so small, then the perceived value is going to be lower. But if you can actually help them get into your program, right, and then the transformation is going to be peanuts compared to the cost they actually paid, then that's going to also that's actually going to reduce the cost element of your program as well, right? And then what also helps when it comes to the cost, there's companies, finance companies, where you can actually chunk up payments, right? So you can get, the client can pay, you can get the full payment up front, but then the client can pay in like monthly installments for up to 12 months. That's awesome. So the cost of them actually joining your program is decreased because of the fact they can chunk it up whilst you get paid up front. So the more things you can do that way, the more creative you can be, the more that decreases the cost element of your program. And then there's time, and then there's effort as well. So an example for this one, let's say that you are a personal trainer, and then in order for them to be a part of your program, they need to go to the gym with you 5 days per week. They need to go on this very strict ketogenic diet where they can't have any carbohydrates at all. They have to wake up super early before work to attend the gym, and they have to have all of this. They have to spend all of this time, and they have to have all of this sacrifice to be able for her to get the dream hourglass shape that lady is going for. She has to do all of that just to have the hourglass shape, and it's also going to take her like 4 months to do it all. So you can see the cost from a time and a sacrifice element is extremely high, right? But on the contrary, let's say that you're a BBL surgeon, and then instead of that same lady, call her Sandra, having to go to the gym and that sacrifice and spend all this time to maybe have this transformation, she can go to the BBL surgeon, and after 1 or 2 rounds of surgery, she has the perfect body that she always wanted, right? For the BBL surgeon, when it comes to cost, there isn't much cost involved because the time and the sacrifice is so minuscule to where he can charge so much more money, and people are going to be way more likely to actually want to move forward and convert because of the time and sacrifice being so small, right? So that's why you also see a lot of offers in the done for you space do so well. And that's mainly because it's done for you. The company takes a lot of the stress out of the actual client and puts that onto their own lap. And because of that, there's less sacrifice involved. They can often get to the result a lot quicker as well than having the client do it themselves. Anything you can do from that standpoint helps a lot, right? And then we have risk. So when it comes to risk, we want to obviously make sure we can reduce risk. And the best way to do that is with guarantees, right? So you can have guarantees that ensure people will actually be successful, and if they're not successful, they don't have to pay out of pocket. And then what you can also have is like conditional guarantees, right? So what you want to do when it comes to a conditional guarantee is where you look at all of your best clients and you look at, okay, what have they done to be so successful? What have they done in terms of action items to actually win, right? And then what you should do is take those action items and add that to your guarantee. So what I mean by that, so let's say, for example, you're a coach and you help 9-to-5ers become sales closers, right? So the way you can structure your guarantee is, let's say, for example, all of the people that do the best, they reach out to business owners every single day for 30 days straight. And when they do that, they always get a client, right? Let's say that's how that often works, hypothetically speaking. So you can say that, okay, I'm going to offer you a 100% money back guarantee. The only thing I ask from you is that you must reach out to a business owner every single day for 30 days straight. And you must document it, you must log it, you must come onto the coaching calls and share your results with me after having done it. And then if you do that for 30 days and you don't get a client, we'll refund you the program and we'll let you go on your way. So there's no risk involved, right? It's either you win or you get all of your money back. And that's like a really good guarantee in place because it works twofold. So they know that they can't lose, right? They can get their money back if this doesn't work for them. But then you're also going to help get more transformations. They're going to be more likely to actually make that transformation because you're tying the money back guarantee to the activity that actually helps people have that desired transformation, right? So if people actually do it, there's not going to be any refunds. And if people do it for 30 days and for some odd reason they don't actually get the outcome, just the fact that they put in that much work is going to make them want to stick even longer and continue to do it. So conditional guarantees are a great way to reduce risk in your clients' minds and also get better client results because you're holding them accountable to actually do the work, right? So those are the things. Reward, you want to increase it. Cost, you want to decrease it. And then our perceived value is going to be our reward divided by our cost. And there's an equation that I actually do before taking on a client and before launching an offer to make sure that this equation is optimal. But let's take 2 offers, for example, right? I want you to take two offers, and we can run an example here. So let's say that offer A helps you make $10,000 per month, right? But then it feels uncertain, it feels complex, it feels super risky. So even though the reward side is pretty high, right? Even though the cost side is like super high, even though we have a pretty good reward side, right? So that's what it's looking like right here. But let's say we have offer B, and offer B helps you make $5,000, but it feels easy, it feels proven, and it feels just like super safe, right? So offer B, completely different. Let's just draw that out real quick. So offer B, the cost is super small, right? And even though the reward is also small, a little bit smaller as well, the cost is just like super small, right? And then you'll find that when you go to the market with an offer that has less of a reward, but then the cost and the certainty is super high, offer Bs tend to be better offers than offer As. Because human beings, we're extremely risk adverse, right? We don't like to take risks. We do not like to lose. We like certainty above all. So you can try to offer someone the sun and the moon, but if you offer them the sun and the moon and there's doubt they can actually achieve it, then that's going to lower the perceived value, and it's going to make it harder for you to make conversions, right? You can offer somebody opportunity that only helps them make $2,000 per month, like something very small. But if it is easy, if it is proven, if it is safe, you'll be able to do monumental numbers with that offer if they really believe that bridge is sturdy, that bridge is solid, and the costs are low, right? So you don't have to offer people unrealistic potential. You can offer them lower potential, but then and that can help as well. Like sometimes by just offering less and not over promising, your perceived value goes up because now they can actually fathom it being true and they can fathom the transformation, right? So don't try to always promise people the sun and the moon. It just screams scam, right? So again, like even offering less sometimes, but making sure you can actually follow through on that promise will take you way further, you know? So I want to show you the mathematical equation now that I run whenever it comes to taking on a new client. And you can run this equation right now with your offer. It can let you know where you're currently at. And depending on where you're currently at, I can probably already predict the results that you're getting, right? So let's use the same offer A, for example. The transformation, let's say it's a 9. It's a great transformation, $10,000 a month. Oh, that's great, right? That's gravy. So let's say it's high. And then the 7 is for identity. So the identity shift is also pretty high. And then the certainty is pretty low. The certainty is like a 4, right? And then when it comes to the cost, let's say the cost for money is a 7, time and effort is an 8, and risk is a 6. So the cost side of the equation is pretty high, even though the reward side is also decently high as well. So what we will do, we would add up all of the rewards, and then we'll divide the added up rewards by the total accumulative cost. So we'll do 20 divided by 21, which gets us an offer score of 0.95, right? Which it's not the highest, right? But then we have offer B. So we're promising less. The transformation isn't so high. It's only $5,000 a month as opposed to the 10. So transformation is a 7. Identity is also a 7. Certainty is a 9. And then when it comes to the costs are really low. So a 4 for money, 3 for time, and a 3 for risk, right? So the costs are low, even though the reward isn't so super high. So we want to do 23, and then we'll divide it by 10, right? Because the cost is just way low, as you can see. And then that gets us an offer score of 2.3, which is exceptional. And I've ran offers with offer scores of this caliber, and I can tell you that when you have an offer score above, even, for example, anything above a 1 is like really solid. But if you can get your offer score above a 1.5, that's when I've had offers so potent where I've really contemplated bringing on my little brother, my auntie, my mom, my sister. Like, the offer is like so potent that you do not need to have the ultimate persuaders in order to convert people into the actual program, because the offer itself is so solid that your persuasiveness, your persuasive skills can be lower and you can still do way bigger numbers, right? But with offers like offer A, for example, where it's below a 1, that's where you have to be extremely bulletproof with your persuasion skills. So your sales guys need to be phenomenal, like really, really solid. Your marketing needs to be extremely dialed in. But when you have an offer like offer B, you can sometimes get away with some things on the market not being fully dialed in, some things on the sales not being fully dialed in, because the offer is so potent that persuasion can be less, right? Obviously, I'm not telling you to not take care of your marketing, not take care of your sales, because when you have really good sales and you have really good marketing, that is like adding gasoline to the fire, and that will take you to the point where you're doing tens of millions of dollars in revenue, right? So again, it's very important to optimize everything, but if you do have an offer where it's below a 1, then you can't really get away with any errors, any slip ups on the persuasion side of things, right? And if you guys have ever hired closers before, this is like something you've probably seen. Some of you guys may have hired closers and they tell you that they're an amazing closer. They did $200,000 amounts on their last offer. They've done $5 million in revenue and cash collected during their career. And they tell you all of these amazing things. And then you bring them onto your offer and they just completely suck. And they wasn't lying. They really did do the numbers they spoke about. But why do they completely suck when they come onto your offer? Because of this. You probably have an offer A over here, right, with a low offer score. But this closer was probably on an offer B type of offer, wherein which, even though they didn't have the ultimate persuasion skills, the offer did a lot of the heavy lifting for them. So even though they wasn't that good, they managed to get away with being on that team because the offer essentially sold itself, right? And you want to have that. You want to make sure that you have an offer that sells its freaking self, but then you also get A player talent on it to add gasoline to that fire and take you to the freaking moon. So this is it, guys. This is the ultimate equation. And before I take on any client, I make sure that we have these numbers all dialed in. It has to be bulletproof. We do our offer scoring as well before we take on any client. And this is something you can do right now. So I'll just applaud you to do this right now of your offer, run it, see where you're falling on the offer score. If you are below a 1, change it immediately. If you are above a 1.5, then reach out to me. I want to help you out. We can scale this up. We can help you with your sales. We can help you with your marketing, and we can take this thing to the freaking moon. If you're above a 1.5, even above a 1, there's so much potential there. These offer A's, they definitely scale too, but then you need more persuasion at that point to be able to go to the next level, and we can also help you with that. So if you found this video helpful, then subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be making a lot more content just like this, and I will see you in the next video.